Benchmark cheater, speed test beater, sneaky with the specs, more and more mistakes, price too high, price too low. OnePlus have been in the news quite a lot, haven't they? Well, let's cast aside all of those thoughts for the moment and just focus on the OnePlus 5 in today's video. When all's been said and done, should this be your next phone? But before we get to all that, if this is your first time here or in case my time off has dulled your grey cells, my name's Ash, this is C4 Tech, and you're watching our full review of the OnePlus 5. Let's get started. Let's start with that build. Looks like the iPhone 7 Plus. No, not the iPhone 7 Plus, it's the Oppo R11. Hell, at this point, I don't even care. Yeah, it's not the most unique build in the world. Yeah, it looks similar to a bunch of other phones. Let them lawyers kind of sort all that out. I mean, is it functional? Yes and no. The metal back, it's smooth. I constantly feel I'm about to drop the OnePlus 5. But then that's something that holds true for most phones with smooth metal backs. The OnePlus 5 does feel lighter than the OnePlus 3T. It is actually just 5 grams lighter, but the way your fingers cradle it in your palm makes it weirdly noticeable. The overall footprint though remains similar. It's a tad thinner and narrower but longer than its predecessor. While I'm not crazy about how this phone's designed, it is perfectly functional. Feels nice in hand, premium even. And I love the fact that the most important parts of the OnePlus series, like the alert slider, the rapid fast fingerprint scanner, and the notification LED, they all return here. I still don't get why some brands keep removing that notification LED, but that's a rant for another day. So anyway, sold on the build, the design, not so much. Now, a phone's not just about how it looks, right? The horsepower underneath counts for a lot. And here's where the OnePlus 5 absolutely shines. OnePlus have delivered in spades. The OnePlus 5 is powered by the latest and greatest that Qualcomm has to offer, the Snapdragon 835. This means the OnePlus 5 is a beast when it comes to raw performance. There are two variants of this phone, one with 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of onboard storage, and another with a humongous 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of onboard storage. My 2 cents, if the extra storage doesn't really matter, stick to the 664 variant because 6 gigs of RAM is already overkill. The extra 2 gigs aren't gonna do much barring giving you bragging rights. That said, the extra storage might definitely be something worth considering given that the OnePlus 5 doesn't have support for microSD. It does have support for dual SIM cards though. While the internals have received a considerable boost since the last OnePlus flagship, the display not so much. It is a newer variant of the same optic AMOLED panel that was used on the OnePlus 3T. For all intents and purposes, this is quite the same display. Is that a bad thing? Well, yes and no again, depending on where you stand. If you're into Daydream and other VR stuff, then yeah, this is gonna be a bummer. But for all others, the 5.5-inch Full HD optic AMOLED display here delivers. 400 pixels per inch is still perfectly sharp for day-to-day usage. It is also covered by the new Gorilla Glass 5 for enhanced protection. So whether it's reading, you've got a new reading mode by the way, or browsing or consuming media, this display is good. Talking about consuming media, there's just a lone speaker at the bottom, but it is quite loud and clear. Audio via the 3.5mm headphone jack, yes, that exists. That's also loud and clear, no issues there. Cellular reception and call quality, again, no issues, worked as well as could be expected. The OnePlus 5 has taken a marginal hit in terms of battery capacity. It's now gone down by 100 mAh and we're dealing with a 3300 mAh battery now. So how does that fare? Given that the Snapdragon 835 that's at the core of this phone is built on the 10nm manufacturing process, leading to battery gains, OnePlus made a promise that despite the smaller battery on the OnePlus 5, it should deliver about a 20% better battery life than its predecessor. And this seems to be something OnePlus have delivered on. In my 10 days or so with the OnePlus 5, I used the 664 variant for about 4 days and the 828 variant for a week. With my regular day-to-day usage, I ended most of my days of what can be construed as moderately intense usage with about 20 to 30% juice left. I spent about 30 minutes playing mildly intensive games like Plants vs Zombies 2, an hour or so browsing, a bucket load of push notifications, a lot of Twitter, Creator Studio, etc. If your usage is more intense than that, you'd have to plug it in earlier. But that said, even then, the OnePlus 5, just like its predecessors, has support for dash charge and can go from 0 to 50 in less than 30 minutes. Let's now get to one of the more interesting and controversial aspects of the OnePlus 5, them dual cameras to the back. So, OnePlus have gone with a weird combination here. First, we've got a primary 16 megapixel shooter. That's the Sony IMX398 sensor, the same one we've seen on the Oppo F3 Plus in the past. This is a 1x2.8 inch sensor with 1.12 micron size pixels. Then there's a secondary camera, a 20 megapixel snapper that uses Sony's IMX350 sensor. Again, a 1x2.8 inch sensor, but given the higher megapixel count here, it's got smaller 1 micron size pixels. So what does the second sensor do? It gets you 2x lossless zoom, well 1.6x optical with 0.4x software trickery, unlike something like the iPhone wherein the 2x is completely optical. That said, it's still acceptable. The second sensor uses a lens with a f2.6 aperture, meaning shots do get a little ISO boost when compared with a one shot with a primary f1.7 lens. Then there's the 4K effect called portrait mode, just like it is called on the iPhones. I mean, it does a commendable job of obtaining depth information via the second sensor and creating a more DSLR-like blurring of the background. It fares a lot better than implementations on, say, the Galaxy S8 with its single camera setup. The cameras themselves, for the most part, were great under good light. Ample detail, excellent color reproduction, dynamic range was above average. The zoomed in shots were not quite as good as those shot with the primary camera, but like I said, still acceptable. Under low light though, here's where the lack of optical image stabilization, something that the OnePlus 3 and the 3T have had, well, it hurts. The wider f1.7 aperture does help compensate a little bit, but the OnePlus 5 still has to push the ISO levels up because it doesn't have OIS, and that results in noisier than usual low light images. They're a little soft too. Well, the OnePlus 5 competes with the iPhones and the Galaxy flagships and even outdoes them in some areas. Low light performance sadly does not happen to be one of those areas. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is acceptable performance, but it's nowhere close to what even say last year's Galaxy S7 would deliver here. Another area where the OnePlus 5 loses ground is video. The lack of optical image stabilization hurts again. Electronic image stabilization, or EIS, is currently available only at 1080p 30 fps, and that too just for the primary camera. And even then, it's just about okay. Nowhere close to the jaw-dropping stabilization that we've seen in the past with something like the Pixels of last year. The quality of the footage itself is quite good, does a lot of detail, great color reproduction, the camera nails exposure changes. I'm a fan, but the lack of stabilization and manual controls for video, that means OnePlus still has a long way to go before it can start killing flagship cameras. The selfie camera is another 16 megapixel shooter similar to the one from the OnePlus 3T. It gets the job done, good detail, colors with a wide enough lens, and for videos, EIS for the front camera helps a lot. Very stable footage, so if you want to vlog or something, the OnePlus 5's camera should help. Now back to one of OnePlus's strongholds, software. The OnePlus 5 runs on Android 7 Nougat with OnePlus's custom Oxygen OS on top. Oxygen OS, despite bringing a few extras like the shelf, a reading mode, the ability to swap between on-screen and capacitive keys, the ability to customize said keys, gesture support and more, it still remains quite light and quite close to stock Android. That, when coupled with the fact that the OnePlus 5 is porting one of the fastest chips on the market today, means the user experience here is top-notch. The OnePlus 5 flies through anything thrown at it. Even mundane day-to-day tasks like checking mail and going through my Twitter feed put a smile on my face given how snappy everything felt. The user experience rivals and at times even betters what you'd find on the most expensive phones in the market. This is one area I feel OnePlus have nailed. Top marks here. Great job, OnePlus. Now with that, let's get to another controversial topic, price. The OnePlus 5 starts at $479 globally and 33,000 rupees in India. We've all heard about the rising prices of OnePlus flagships, or rather OnePlus phones, they just make flagships. So, some say it's understandable given how far OnePlus have come in terms of getting closer to flagships from major brands, while others, state the exponential increase in advertising is why pricing has gone up and aren't all that happy about it. I personally feel while both are true to an extent, I find myself siding more with the former rather than the latter. Yes, the OnePlus 5 is more expensive than say the OnePlus 2, but the OnePlus 5 also happens to be much closer to the Galaxy S8 than the OnePlus 2 ever was to the Galaxy S6. Now think about that for a minute. So here's the answer to our original question: when all's said and done, when the dust has settled, should the OnePlus 5 be your next phone? My answer is a resounding yes. Well, yeah, it's true that the OnePlus 5's price gets quite close to that of a LG G6 or a Galaxy S7, but these are phones running on last year's chips. Well, the OnePlus 5 might not offer a crazy new aspect ratio or have IP certification for water and dust resistance or as good a camera as these phones, it will still deliver a great user experience when compared. So unless camera is a top priority, the OnePlus 5 is still the way to go. It still delivers the best bang for your buck in this price segment. So that's it for my 2 cents on the OnePlus 5. Do you agree with what I've had to say in this video? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you do want to pick a OnePlus 5 up, I'll leave direct links in the description below. Use them to place your order. It helps the channel out. So that's it for this video. If you hated it, feel free to call me paid and biased and also give this video a thumbs down. But if you did like this video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. If you have already subscribed, hit that bell icon to make sure you get notified each time a new video goes live here on C4eTech. So that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this here is Ash. You've been watching C4eTech and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.